So we're going to do a quick recap of what we did on Tuesday, and then we're going to jump into something that's sort of along the same lines, but a little bit different. Oh, but Jordan, you got pretty close. You got his first name, which is awesome. Okay, so on Tuesday, we looked at being given a function. So in this case, our function is y equals negative 3x plus 1. And we used our table, and then we plotted those points on a Cartesian plane. Okay, so I'm just going to do one of them with you, and then we'll talk our way through. How would I work out if this is my input? Okay, so my x is my input and my y is my output. How would I work out my y value if x was negative 2? Does anyone think they can talk me through this or give me an idea of what to do? And remember, it doesn't matter if you're wrong, as long as you're trying, that's all that matters. How am I going to find that y value? Okay, Mfunzo, can you please help me? How am I going to find that y value?
Hi, ma'am.
Hi.
So we are going to say minus 3 times minus 2, which
Beautiful.
is the input,
And then
plus 1.
Beautiful. Okay, so what's negative 3 times negative 2?
I don't really have a calculator, so
Let's do it step by step. What does a negative times a negative give you?
a positive.
Beautiful. Okay, and 3 times 2?
It's 6.
Yes, there we go. Okay, great. Okay, so then we're going to have 6 plus 1, and 6 plus 1 is going to give us what?
7.
Yes, beautiful. Nice job, Mfunzo. Thank you for answering.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, so what we did over there is we took our x as our input. So we took this negative 2 and we put it in as our input, and that helped us find our y value. In this case, our y value over here was 7. All right. So now I know my x value is 2 and my y value is 7. How would I write that beautifully as a set of coordinates? How would I write that as a set of coordinates? Thinking about all the rules we learned about coordinates on Tuesday. Can you put it in the chat for me? How can I write that as a set of coordinates? Lovely, Kira. Yes, beautiful. So I've got my beautiful brackets. I've got the negative 2, which is my x value. I've got my y value, which is 7, and I've got a semicolon in the middle. Okay, so that would be my set of coordinates. Okay, so I helped you with the first one. What I'd like you to do is I'd like you to find these ones over here. And then I want you to draw yourself your Cartesian plane, and I want you to try and plot this graph. And once you have a graph that you have plotted, it would be great if you could put it in the camera for us so that Coco and I can see what you have drawn. And we'll tell you if there are things that could have like a bit of improvement or if everything's looking great. Okay, I have 3 hands that are up at the moment. Can you just double check if they still are questions or if you're wanting to answer? And if you don't want your hand up anymore, you can drop it for me. Otherwise, I'll go through these 3 hands. Okay, Unati, how can I help, sweetheart?
Hi, ma'am.
Hi.
Ma'am, I wanted to ask, do you need to do the second step? Because I like skipping it.
This step over here?
Yes, ma'am.
No, so for all of these, you don't need to do any steps because you can put it straight into your calculator. All I need is to get a number over there.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, I'm worried I'm going to mess up this name, but I'm going to try. Mujahid. And if I've messed up your name horribly, please tell me how to say it better.
You actually said it right, ma'am.
Yes! Success! Okay, how can I help?
The second step, ma'am, can you like write it full because the x value is most -1.
Yeah.
So do you have to like do all of that, or do you have to like, can you just put it in your calculator?
You can literally put this straight into your calculator and you'll get the answer for y.
I tried now and I saw actually just give you the same answer actually.
Did it give
I tried
you the
the first
answer?
one out on my own and I kind of got the same answer.
So you got, when you put this one in your calculator, you also got 7.
Yep.
Okay, then that's great. So you could definitely trust your calculator when you work through these.
Cool.
That's what our calculators are, our friends in high school. I know in junior school we're told that we can't use them, but in high school we love them. So you use it as much as you want. What is this shocked face? You know it's true. Loyiso, how can I help?
Ma'am, I wanted to ask because you said we must do the rest. So I did what's this? The second one. If I am correct, this is what I wrote in the book. Y equals -3, brackets -1, brackets +1, like one's outside the bracket.
Yeah.
And then dash, if I'm correct, -3 times -1 is going to equal, is going to stay the same if I'm correct, or it's going to be a positive.
It's going to become +3.
So I was right. Then it's going to be +1, which will
Okay.
equal 4.
Perfect.
So is
That's
that the
exactly
answer?
right.
Thank you, ma'am.
Nice job. With 2 marks, Kira, that's so nasty. So was each graph only worth 2 marks? Oh, that's so horrible. Sorry, Kira, that's a raw deal that you're dealing with over there. Okay, so what I'd love to see is once you've got these coordinates, if you can pop them in the camera for us, and then Coco and I are going to kind of scroll through people's graphs. Don't know if we've done this with you guys in grade 9 yet, but we've spent a lot of time looking at graphs in grade 10. So this might be a bit new to you. If you're feeling embarrassed and you don't want to show your face on camera, you don't have to. So for example, let's say this is a little bag. Let's say this bag was the graph that I was showing. Okay, so I can literally put it in front of the camera like that, and you don't see me at all. Okay. So as soon as you've got a graph that you have drawn, if you could please chuck it in front of the camera for us, that would be glorious. Just be easier for us to see what's going on. I see Artile is like super focused and ready. So I'm expecting good things from this graph. Is no one feeling brave enough with this graph yet, or are you just still working? Let me know. And let me know what the situation is.
Ma'am, Ceciliana's asking, isn't it 5 there by the 4? And I think it should be 4 if we calculate it correctly.
Definitely 4 over here. So we would have had y is equal to -3 times -1 plus 1. And so that -3 and that -1 is going to become +3. And so then that will definitely be 4. It's okay if you're still working. Keep going. Keep going. Luiso, do you have a question?
Yes, ma'am. So I just wanted to find out for the 0. Would it be y -3 or y equals 0?
So this would be
brackets
y is
1.
equal to -3 times 0 plus 1. And so the -3 times 0 is just going to give us 0. So that's just
Okay. So I'm correct. Thank you, ma'am.
Sure. Okay. And then guys, the cool thing with straight line graphs is that once you've got all of these and you've got your coordinates, so like over here, this is going to be -1 and 4, and this is going to be 0 and 1. When you plot them, if you don't get a straight line, you know you've made a mistake somewhere. Oh, Cecilia, you were just adding extra ones. Okay, at least you know where you were going wrong. Oh, Maya, welcome back. Nice to have you here. Okay, so keep these going and draw your graph. And if you're feeling comfortable, Coco and I would love to see what your graph looks like. So you can just chuck it into your video for us once you have one. but I see we are not very video pro today, so that's okay. No judgment here. That's okay, Pomeza. Thanks for letting us know. Okay, so we should get to a point like this. And I'm just going to write these coordinates out. And when we have our coordinates, when we're at this point over here, what we want to do from this point is we want to get our pencils and some rulers. Okay, remember we always draw our graphs in pencil. Yolanda's just dealing with some family stuff today, but she'll be back. So Coco has very graciously offered to step in for us today.
Also, Ms. G, your 8 is missing a minus in that coordinate.
How sneaky. So rude. They are. Now I've changed my axis to yellow. It's just mayhem over here. Okay, there we go. Okay. Okay, and you don't actually even have to plot all of these. You only have to plot a couple. So you can choose which ones you would like to plot. But remember, when we're drawing our X and Y axis, that's going to be our Y axis, and that's going to be our X axis. Okay, and then we want to sort of give marks and make them fairly even apart. So we want to try and make them as even as possible. I'm not very good at this without a ruler in my hand. I don't seem to have a good sense of where things should be. Okay, when we work to the right, they're all positives. When we work to the left, they are negatives. Remember, when we get into our older grades, we don't have to write it all out like this. Gets a little bit easier, actually. Well, a little bit easier and a little bit harder, a little bit of both. Okay, so we have our X and Y axis. And now all we have to do is we have to put in our coordinates. Okay, so Luisa, I see your comments. My best advice is if you get a chance, if you could watch our video from Tuesday, it is on the Watobe website. We go into a lot of detail on the Cartesian plane. We spend a lot of time on these two different axes. So I definitely recommend giving it a go. I think by the end of today's lesson, you'll have quite a good idea, but if you want sort of a clear idea, then that's my recommendation. Okay, so I'm going to choose, which ones am I going to choose? I'm going to choose these three that I'm going to plot, and I need to have a 4. Okay, so first one, -1 and 4, and you could plot all of them if you wanted to, but I'm just going to plot those 3. Then I've got 0 and 1, and then I've got 1 and -2. And so I get this beautiful straight line. Currently, with what I have drawn, what is missing on my straight line that we spoke about at the end of our lesson on Tuesday? What needs to be on that line? Maya, can you tell me what's missing?
Ma'am, the arrows.
Yes, beautiful, my arrows. And there's one other thing that's missing. Do you know what it is? Do you want me to pass it on to someone else?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let's see if Funzo can help you. Funzo, can you tell me the one other thing that's missing of this graph right now?
Ma'am, I'm not really sure, but I think it's name.
Yes, it's the name. Well done. Remember, we can't just have graphs walking around without a name and they don't know who they are. We have to give it its name. And its name is going to be the equation of the graph. And we can put that anywhere on the line, but generally it's best to put it at the top or at the bottom. Okay, so that name tells us what the graph is. Cool. How did we feel about drawing this? Can you give me a number from 0 to 10? And if yours looks similar or if yours looks completely different, give me an idea on how this question went. Oh, precious. I love that. Okay, Pumeza, can you tell me where it went a little bit sideways? Okay.
So ma'am, it will say it's on the part or like when you do a straight line, I did some like a little bit mistake. Like
Okay,
I
so
combined them.
was it where you drew your dots, where you're drawing them in the wrong
Yeah, ma'am.
place? Okay, so just always be careful when we draw them. We always put our X value first, and then we put our Y value.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Sure, of course. What about the X and the Y axis? So the X and the Y axis are just there. We're using them, but today we're going to be using their intercepts to draw our graphs. So we're going to be looking at it in a slightly different way. But if we're feeling comfortable with drawing the graph, then we can sort of upgrade ourselves a little bit. Yeah, Loyiso, how can I help?
Ma'am, I just wanted to ask, so this graph, does it basically help you get to your answer?
So the answer that
Basically.
they're wanting here is they're wanting this picture. So this picture is
Yes.
the answer.
Mhm.
So the table is just a way to help us get to the picture. So I'm going to show you a different way of getting to the picture today. And then
Yes.
you can see which ones you prefer.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, cool. Okay, so in order for us to figure out or to learn, oh, sorry, if anyone would like a screenshot, you're welcome to take one. Okay. For our second method, it's called the intercept method. We actually need to understand what intercepts are. Okay, so in this graph, we've got one straight line there. Oh gosh, let's try and actually keep it on the line. So there's my pink straight line, and then we've got this blue straight line over here. Okay, in my pink straight line, my y-intercept is going to be where the pink line crosses the y-axis. Okay, so that would be my y-intercept. In my blue line, it's exactly the same. This point over here, it's where it's crossing my y-axis. That would be my y-intercept. Okay, because it's crossing my y-axis. And then this point over here, because now it's crossing my x-axis, so that is my x-intercept. And for the pink one, this would be my x-intercept. Okay. Yeah, sometimes you just need to see it visually for it to make a bit more sense. So my question to you is, at my two y-intercepts, what can you tell me both of those two have in common? And you can tell me a whole bunch of things. There's lots of right answers to this question. So those two y-intercepts, what do they have in common with each other? Anything you can see that they have in common. And it can be something super obvious. Whatever you see, I'd love to know. What do those two y-intercepts have in common? Pumeza, yeah.
Ma'am, the pink line is crossing over the y-axis and the blue line is crossing over the y-axis.
Beautiful, beautiful, excellent. Okay, so both of these intercepts are where, so these are both cross, oh gosh, that just like made this beautiful straight line for us, okay? They're both crossing the y-axis, okay? That's really great, okay? They're both crossing the y-axis. When I'm crossing the y-axis, so both of these points over here, when I'm crossing the y-axis, what is my x value for those? What would be my x value for those two y-intercepts? Let's see. Oh, Pumeza again, to the rescue.
Okay, ma'am, I'm not really sure, but is it like 0, comma
Yeah.
0.
Yeah, no,
Oh.
so close. You were so close, so close. But yes,
Zero.
your x value is going to be 0, which is what we were looking for. So at
So-
these points over here, my x value is going to be 0. So we don't know what my y value would be, but we know my x value is going to be 0.
So when is it like -0?
Just so at the moment we can just say 0 and y because we don't know what the y is. But where you
Oh,
said
okay,
x is 0, that's 100% right.
Okay.
Nice. Okay, yeah, at the moment, exactly, Kira, y is unknown at the moment. So the thing is, the cool thing for these is that both of those y-intercepts are where, so let's just get rid of our x-intercepts for the moment and let's just look at our y-intercepts, okay? Both of these y-intercepts are where it's crossing my y-axis. So that's my y-axis over there. Okay, so it's where the line crosses the y-axis. And if we look at our x-axis, which is this line over here, okay, it's where x would be 0 because that point over there would be 0, 0. So where we cross the y-axis, our x values would be 0. Okay. Maya, how can I help?
Ma'am, I wanted to ask if is it because it's a vertical line?
So the axis is definitely a vertical line, yes. So that's why those x values would be the same.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Okay. For those of you feeling a little bit lost, don't worry. I promise it will come together slowly. Sometimes it's just like a visual thing, but I promise it will fit together slowly. Okay. So I'm going to change this to being pink so that they're the same as each other. And then we're going to talk about blues. Okay, so those are my x-intercepts. Now, my y-intercepts. If I look at my x-intercepts, so those are my x-intercepts, okay? So my blue ones are my x-intercepts. It's where it crosses the x-axis. So where it crosses the x-axis. And here, so we don't know what our x value is, but what would our y value be for both of those? Have a guess. What would our y value be for both of those? Is my spelling just falling across? They're there, you just have to look for it a little bit.
I'm just saying, ma'am, I read y intercept, not y intercept.
They're there, you have to interpret it a little bit, but just have a little bit of interpretation. Okay, so for our y-intercepts, our x value would be 0, and for our x-intercepts, our y values would be 0. Okay, so think about it like that. So for our x-intercepts, our y values are 0, and for our y-intercepts, our x values are 0. Let's just write that out over here. So at any y-intercept of a graph, so those are my pink ones, okay, x is going to equal 0 because it's where it's crossing the y-axis, okay? And at any x-intercept of the graph, so those are the two blue dots I've drawn over there, that's when y is equal to 0, and it's because it's where it's crossing the x-axis. Tumelo, how can I help?
May I please ask, where are we? Because my power went out and the Zoom call disconnected.
So where we are is we're looking at what different intercepts are. So we're looking at what is an x-intercept and what is a y-intercept.
Okay, thank you.
See, so it's not so stressful. It's really just like where one is 0 or where the other one is 0. That's all they are. So like if we have a look at this graph over here, okay, who can tell me the coordinates of my y-intercept? Who can tell me the coordinates of my y-intercept? I would like the coordinates for my y-intercept in this graph over here. So have a look. Where does this graph cross my y-axis? Precious, great, okay? But now be careful, I want the coordinates. Okay, so Precious is saying it's crossing my y-axis over there. So I know that that's my y-intercept. So what are my coordinates over there? Yeah, there we go. 0 and 1. Exactly. 0 and 1. Okay, because it's my x value is going to be 0 and my y value is 1. Let's look at some of the graphs we drew on Tuesday. Oh, we've just landed back at Renee. Good old Renee. Okay, over here, let's look at this one. All right. So in this graph, what would be the coordinates of my y-intercept? What would be the coordinates of my y-intercept in this graph over here?
So, ma'am, I think it will be let me check. It's 1.1 or 0.0,1.
So where is my line crossing the y-axis?
The line is crossing the line axis at the near the 0.
Over
Like
here,
the bottom,
right?
The bottom corner 0. Yeah.
Okay, so what's that value? What is that y value over there?
No.
It's just a little bit hidden, okay, but it's just -1. Okay, so all we're saying is like this point over here that I've just highlighted, that's where it's crossing my y-axis, which means that's my y-intercept, okay? So my x value is 0 and my y value would be -1. That's what my y-intercept would be over here. Okay, I'm gonna draw a different graph on this. I'm being a rebel and erasing everything we did. Okay, and okay, it's not the straightest graph, but it will have to do. Oh goodness, this is the graph that we're going to look at. Okay, what is my y-intercept? What are my coordinates for my y-intercept? Okay, so my y-intercept is where it's crossing my y-axis. Maya, can you help me? What are my coordinates?
Ma'am, so your coordinates are going to be 0, semicolon, -2.
Yes, good. Okay, so my y-intercept is where it's crossing my y-axis. Okay, so it's going to be 0, -2. Beautiful, Maya. Excellent. Okay, I now want to know what my coordinates of my x-intercept are going to be. What is my x-intercept going to be? Comfort, can you please help me?
Right, ma'am, I think it's gonna be a 1.
Good, 1, and what's my y value going to be?
Y value, I think is gonna be -2.
Let's see if someone can help you out. I'll try and pass the mic on and see if someone can help over here. Let's see if I can get a new hand. Alvarez, can you help me? What's my y value going to be over there?
Hello, ma'am.
Hi, Alvarez.
Now, isn't the y value going to be 0 or something?
Yes, good. My y value is going to be 0. Okay, so at this x-intercept, that's that point over there. Okay, so when we have an x-intercept, our y value is always 0. And when we have a y-intercept, our x value is always 0. Okay, let's try one more. So, all right. This oh goodness. There we go. Okay, this pink line. I would like to know in the pink line what my x-intercept is first. So I would like to know what my x-intercept is for this pink line. A Sunday, can you help me? What is my x-intercept? What is my coordinates there?
Hi, ma'am.
Hi.
I think it's gonna be -2.
Good.
And 0.
Yes, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, so my x-intercept is over here. Let me do it in the same colors as we did below. Okay, so my x-intercept is over there. And now I would like to know what my y-intercept is of this pink graph. Precious, can you help me?
Ma'am, our y-intercept is going to be 0, semicolon 3.
Yes, good. Okay, there we go. I feel like we're getting a little bit better about. Nice. Okay. Are you feeling a little bit more confident with these guys? So for your X's and your Y's, are we feeling a little bit better? Hopefully. Okay, good. Okay. Let's deal with these questions. Maya, can I help?
No, sorry, ma'am, I forgot to lower my hand.
It's okay.
Sorry.
Don't panic. Don't panic. Don't panic. Okay. Sunday.
Ma'am, I was asking if you switch around the numbers, will you get it wrong in an exam?
Yeah. So whenever we give coordinates, we always have to give the X value first and then the Y value.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. But oh gosh, Bungu-san, can I help? Hi. I can hear you. Oh, you came in and out there. Coco, were you able to hear?
No, I didn't. I caught y-intercept, but that's
Yeah,
it.
that's also all I caught. Can you do me a favor, sweetheart? Can you maybe type it in the chat for us? I think that might be easier for us to see. Okay. Okay, I feel like at least we know our Y's and X intercepts now. So we are going to have a quick brain break and then we will jump into drawing one by ourselves. Okay. Yeah, I know. I feel like when I am closer to the screen, I can hear better. I know it's ridiculous. This is what it is, guys. I'm getting old. You have to accept this. Okay. Okay. So our brain break for today is something different. Like I promised, it was going to be something different. Okay. So I'm going to show you how to do the first one, and then I'm going to let you try the second one. All right. So the first one, this is what it looks like. This is a game called 24. So basically you have these 4 numbers and you have to get the number 24. You're allowed to plus, minus, times, and divide as much as you like, but you can only use each number once. Okay. So for example, in this one, I could say, okay, 9 times 2. So 9 times 2 gives me 18. And 5 plus 1 gives me 6. And so 18 plus 6 gives me 24. Does that make sense? So you can't just smush 2 numbers together. So you can't say like that 2 and that 5 is 25. And you have to use every single number. So here I've used the 9, I've used the 5, I've used the 2, and I've used the 1. So you have to use all 4 numbers, but you can use plus, minus, times, divide. And you can only use each number once. And your end goal is to get to the number 24. Okay. Yeah. Luisa, do you have a question?
Ma'am, I was just going to ask if I can let's try one of these.
If you can, what one of them?
Try one of these.
Oh, well, yeah, you're all going to try the next one together next. So don't panic. Okay, so now the easiest way for this one would be to, when you have your answer, guys, put it in the chat for me. So like if I was showing you this one, if I was writing it in the chat, I would say 9 times, we could actually just say 9 times 2 plus 5 plus 1 equals 24. Okay, so just kind of write out your process. Are you ready? Let's go. I promised you it was going to be a number one this week. Okay, it's not a hard one. Don't panic. I'm looking for the number 24. Where's your 9 coming one from though, Oletu?
Well, I think already still doing the one before.
Oh, okay. Over is 8 plus 8 is 16, and 16 plus 6 is 22. So
I know. Like, I'm trying to figure out.
Coco, are you close?
I'm just, oh no, I see it. Yes, I got it.
Okay.
I figured it out. Okay,
Good,
cool.
good.
Got it.
Let's see. There's going to be, I don't want to give too much away. I think there are different ways of doing this. Mine involved a minus and a times and a, yeah. The OG mind break games. Yeah, but you guys were getting them too easily. You weren't breaking your brains. That's the whole point. I got to break them a little bit. Is anyone even getting close? No. Okay, 5 times 1 is 5, 8 plus 8 is 16. Okay, but that's not going to get us where we need to go. Keep getting 40. Okay, well, how about I'll give you a little bit of a help. One step is 5 minus 1 is equal to 4. So then you've used these two. Does that help? Are we getting 24? Funzo, have you figured it out?
Yes, ma'am. I think we're going to say 5 minus 1 times 8.
Good. So 4 times 8 gives us 32.
Minus 1. I mean,
minus the last one, minus the 8. There we go.
I mean minus 8.
Yeah,
yes.
you got there. Nice job, Funzo. Well done. Well done. Woo! You see, it wasn't so bad.
It wasn't. I got Lisa's one that's in the chat. I figured mine out that way as well.
Oh, okay. Okay, so there was a
Lisa's one is
totally
pretty
different way.
cool. Yeah, there was. There
8
was another
minus
way to
5. Okay, so let's have a look. Lisa's way was 8 minus 5, which was 3. Then 3 times 1, which is 3. And then 3 times 8, which is 24. Nice.
No, okay, not quite. Not quite.
No?
But, oh, yes. Yes, except I times the 8 times 1, which also
okay,
still
okay,
gives
same, yeah.
But
Nice job, Lisa. Well done. Slightly different way.
Yeah, well done, Lisa.
Yeah, that's awesome. I like it. Cool. Okay, I promise if I give you one like this, I'll mix it with something nice and easy as well. Okay. Okay, so let's have a look at these questions now. So I'm going to show you how we can do this in a slightly easier way. So don't panic. I promise I'm not going to just throw you in the deep end. I'm not going to be like, go swim, you'll be fine. So let's have a look at this question. If we're going to draw this graph, okay, so we're going to try and draw this graph, but we're going to try and draw it without the table. We're going to do it by finding the 2 different intercepts. Okay, so this is the function that we're working with. And the thing that I'm going to say next is something that I want you to start dreaming about. So like when I say it, you dream about the answer. If we're looking for the y-intercept, what does my x value equal? What does my x value equal at the y-intercept? Yes, Alvarez, thank you. Okay, at the y-intercept, x is equal to 0. That is something that I want you to dream about. It's just something I want you to know. Okay, and down here, when we talk about the x-intercept, at the x-intercept, what would our y value equal? Yes. Okay, so these 2 things are super important. Okay, so if I have to find the coordinates of my y-intercept, I'm going to make my x value equal to 0. So I'm going to say y is equal to 2 times 0, because that's my x value, minus 1, which means 2 times 0, which is 0. And so 0 minus 1, which is negative 1. So the coordinates of that point, my x value is 0. Okay, so that's the first part of my coordinate. And my y value is -1. So those are my coordinates of the x-intercept. So MK, that's the final answer for the coordinates of my y-intercept. Maya, can I help?
Ma'am, I wanted to ask, are you using the dual intercept method?
Exactly what we're doing.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, sure. All right, now we're going to find, so now we found one coordinate. Now we're going to find our x-intercept. And for our x-intercept, we need to make y equal to 0. So we're going to say 0 is equal to 2x minus 1. Okay, so just to go over this, y is equal to 0. So that's my y is equal to 0. And in the first one, where x was equal to 0, we made that 0. Okay, now this is an equation. So I'm going to move my 1 to the other side. So I'm going to have 1 is equal to 2x. And I need x to be alone. So I'm going to divide both by 2. And I'm going to see that x is equal to 1/2. Okay, and so those coordinates are going to be 1/2 and 0. Okay, is there anyone who is unhappy with what they are currently seeing on the screen and would like some clarification on? Okay, the last part of this, yeah, Maya, sure.
Ma'am,
oh, I lost you.
Sorry.
Hi.
Ma'am, why did you move the -1 over?
You could have moved the 2x over, so you could have said -2x is equal to -1, and then you would have divided by -2, and you would have still gotten x is 1/2.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, so all we did was we were solving for x over here, because x and y needs exactly. So for our y-intercept, x needs to be 0, and for our x-intercept, y needs to be 0. Otile, can I help?
Ma'am, I don't, can you please repeat it again, because I don't understand it.
Which part, sweetheart?
By the half it goes to, and then
this
we're
part
like
over here.
here to like divide the 2x and the 2. Yes, ma'am.
Sure. Okay. All right. So when we're working through this blue one, okay, it's the only reason it looks messy is because there's a fraction that's involved. We're going to make y equal to 0. And we're going to say that that's equal to 2x minus 1. If you guys have learned that your x's need to be on the left and your numbers need to be on the right, that's fine. You can also move your 2x over. Okay, so we're going to have -2x, because remember, it changes sign when it jumps over, is equal to -1. Now we need x to be alone. So we're going to divide both sides by the coefficient of x. A negative and a negative is a positive. So we land up with 1/2. And so those coordinates, my x value is 1/2 and my y value is 0. Okay. Then to plot this graph, all we would do is, and this is where this is why we don't actually have to make our life too complicated. We don't have to draw all of those different lines in. We need to have an x-axis and a y-axis. Okay, so that's my x, that's my y. And then we only need to plot these 2 points. So I'm going to make that 1 and -1 and 1 and -1, because we don't need anything more than that. Let's move this one a little bit further out. Okay. And I'm going to plot my points. So the first point I'm going to plot is this 0, -1. So my x value is 0 and my y value is -1. Remember, it will be on my y-axis because it is the y-intercept. Then my second one is going to be 1/2 and 0. So it's going to be on my x-axis because it is the x-intercept. once I have my 2, all I have to do is join them. So now I'm just going to take my pencil and I'm going to draw a nice straight line. Okay. Let's just try it again. Okay, we're going to have an arrow on both sides and we're going to make sure we write our coordinates. So here I'm going to say 0, -1, and here I'm going to say 1/2 and 0, and I'm going to give it its name. So y is equal to 2x minus 1. And that would be the whole thing all together. Yeah, Sefisihle, how can I help? I messed up your name horribly there. I'm sorry.
Ma'am, if you, sorry, ma'am. So if you don't join the dots, will you get it wrong in an exam?
So yeah, because they're wanting the line. The answer for the graph is the line. So you have to join those 2 dots.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Sure. Oh, MK, I'm so glad. Oh no, that's not MK. That's sorry, I mixed up your names. Maya, I'm glad you're understanding. That's awesome. Okay, MK, in every question, will there be an X and Y axis always be 0 or they can change? So MK, there is one sneaky way where they can change it, but we're going to do that next week, Tuesday. So don't you panic. There's one sneaky way that they can make your life difficult. Okay, if you'd like to take a screenshot of this question, you're welcome to, and then I'm going to give you one to try. We might not have time to finish it completely tonight, but that's okay. We can always pick up on Tuesday. We don't need to rush. Okay, let's try another one. So I'm actually going to go, yeah, I'm going to go back one, and then you can choose which way you would like to do it. So for this one, I'm going to give you 2 options. If you're feeling a little bit stressed with learning this new way, you're welcome for this question to stick and do it as a table. So you can do it exactly the same way we did at the beginning of the lesson and on Tuesday, and you fill in these different points and draw your graph that way. Absolutely fine. Okay. If you would like to try something new, then I would like you to try and find the X and Y intercepts of this graph and plot this graph. If they ask you the distance between point A and point B, so some people, it doesn't really matter because the distance will always be positive. So really just like count the distance between them, count the number of units. So like if I had point A over here, that was -4, and I had point B over here, that was 2, because my scale is so great, guys. This would be 4 units and that would be 2 units. So the distance between them would be 6. So the thing is, Precious, when you draw a graph, you actually get a mark for putting in the coordinates of the intercepts. So you do need to have the intercepts of every graph. And that's why learning the intercept method can actually save you time in the long run. So Maya, they would have given you which one's A and which one's B, but a distance is always positive. So it wouldn't really matter. You can't have a negative distance. Like even if both of those points were in the negative, so let's say this was -7 and this was -2, the distance between those is still 5. It's not -5. And I think what we'll do, guys, because I don't want to rush you, is I want you to try and finish off this question. Yeah. Noluvuyo, can I help?
Ma'am, ma'am, are we doing all the questions A to C?
So for this one, it's up to you. So if you were feeling a little bit stressed with what we had just done, then I want you to do it by looking at the table. So filling in the table and drawing out your graph. And from the table, you'll be able to see what your X and your Y intercepts are. Okay. If you weren't feeling stressed and you wanted to try and see if you can do the intercept method, then you can go straight from here into finding your Y intercept and into finding your X intercept.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Coco, can you still hear me or have I been kicked out?
I hear you, no problem.
Okay, I can't, nothing on my screen is moving, so I might disappear, but it's not the end of the world because it's only.
Ooh.
So if you guys can still hear me, then that's good. We are going to go through this question in nice slow detail on Tuesday. Okay, so I want you to try and finish it by yourselves at home and we'll go through it on Tuesday.